I mean, you do this for a living. You examine victims, murder victims on a regular basis. I don't know how you do this, but you do this. Give me your take. I mean, they found a broken hyoid bone. Explain the significance of that to our viewers.
Well, sure. First of all, you have several bone structures in the neck, and all of those bone structures are at risk in cases of strangulation and in cases of hanging. And you remember just a couple of days ago, we talked about three different manners of hanging. One being an asphyxiation, where a person will tie a ligature onto an elevated platform, such as a bunk bed, and they will lean forward. And as they lean forward, the carotid arteries on both sides of the neck are depressed, and that cuts off the oxygenated blood to the brain, causing unconsciousness. But once the person is unconscious, they drop, creates more pressure, and they die by anoxia. The other type of hanging is a drop hanging. Now, with a drop hanging, you will classically see fractured bones in the neck. You'll see a hyoid bone, the cricoid cartilage, cricoid, thyroid, and you will also see abrasions, as we talked about, abrasions and hemorrhages to the neck straps and these areas here. You'll see the ligature marks. But in this particular case, because we got some information at the beginning that it appeared that he had simply leaned forward, if you remember, that was one of the ways I said prisoners classically hang themselves, you would not see a fractured hyoid bone in a case like that. So we don't have any information that he jumped off the top bunk and created what's called a drop hanging to create these fractures of the neck. What is suspicious here to me is what we refer to as the totality of the circumstances. And the way that you may want to look at it, or just say to yourself, what are the chances that so many things could have happened at the same time? Him being suicidal, being taken off a suicide watch, him being placed in a room with an elevated platform, such as a bunk bed, his roommate, his bunkmate, being removed from the room, him being placed in a room with no camera, when he's the second most high profile prisoner in federal custody other than Guzman. So now we see there's a difference in the story between the way the body was found, which was described as leaning forward, and now we have what's described in the autopsy report as multiple fractures. We must also consider homicide for something like that. I'm not discounting suicide by hanging, but I'm saying that the more information we get, the more suspicious this looks.